Shoplifting and antisocial behaviour have reached record highs.
Sharp rise in shoplifting right across the UK.
Experts have warned that Britain is facing a shoplifting epidemic that is so widespread that many businesses are actually at risk of closing.
Is this partly government making this epidemic because it's effectively been accused of almost decriminalising it?
Britain used to be such an orderly country, but it's now suffering from a shoplifting epidemic. British retailers recorded over 16 million incidents last year, twice as many as the year before. They estimate that thieves cost them a record $2.5 billion over just 1 year in missing stock and extra security. Now, in a moment, we'll hear from one of Britain's toughest former detectives who thinks that the police are useless nowadays, and we'll hear from a shop owner who was robbed while being interviewed live on air. But first, a quick look at some of the worst incidents caught on camera.
Put the items back and leave the store. You have been recorded. The police will be contacted.
Experts are now claiming that Britain is a nation of shoplifters.
Across Britain, shoplifting incidents like this are happening at a rate of almost 4,000 an hour.
This shameless shoplifter casually goes down the store's aisle and sticks alcohol straight into his pocket. But as it turns out, we were filming while he was stealing.
Want to go into business?
I think he's stealing.
Hello, excuse me. Right, did you take anything? You take anything?
Britain's high streets are suffering soaring rates of increasingly brazen theft, yet police lack the resources to tackle it.
Just yesterday, 2 elderly people seen trying to steal discounted vegetables.
The most stolen items are meat, alcohol and candy.
This woman spots a wig on sale, comes in from the street and swipes it.
And it's not just theft that's on the up, so too are verbal and physical attacks against staff.
Today I know that 150 of my colleagues will be seriously verbally abused. I know 5 or 6 will be attacked, and a number of those attacks will be with a weapon.
I've been threatened with physical violence. I've been threatened with people waiting outside my workplace for me when my shift is finished.
Social media is playing a big part in this because you do seem to see these videos now of these kids and they don't care. They will just walk into a shop in front of everyone, they'll fill their boots, they'll fill their pockets, and they will just wander out.
70% of the people who are shoplifting in that old-fashioned way rather than this concerted way are shoplifting because they're drug addicts.
Drug abuse is cited by most retailers as a key driver of theft. A growing number are stealing simply to feed themselves.
Amid high food prices, dairy and meat are targets.
If it's on the rise, it's part of the cost of living crisis. People are harder up. They're probably going to commit more crime as a result.
There is no excuse at all for any kind of criminal activity, including shoplifting.
Some police forces perhaps don't take shoplifting as seriously as they should.
I think the bigger crime in society is people not being able to eat.
Well, some really nasty incidents there, but what are the hard numbers? And is it really an epidemic?
The short answer is probably yes. One survey in the tabloid found almost half of all adults in Britain admit to shoplifting from supermarkets, although for many that just means pinching a 10p plastic bag, which they never used to pay for in the past. Now, the top excuse for stealing is the rise in the cost of living. Inflation hit a peak of 11.1% in the UK in October in 2022, and even though it's come down, people are still feeling the effect. Some retailers believe the rise in the cost of living means people are stealing several items as opposed to 1 or 2 as they did in the good old days.
Experts believe a part of the problem is also stemming from the country's rise of the cost of living crisis.
The cost of living certainly is going to be part of it.
But of course that doesn't account for the rise in so-called middle-class shoplifting, where people steal luxury items like brie and blueberries and even baguettes. Some of these otherwise mild-mannered people are taking advantage of the new do-it-yourself checkouts, slipping in a few goods that haven't been properly scanned, accidentally on purpose.
Unexpected item in bagging area.
On top of the individual shoplifters, we also have the marauding gangs of youngsters who tear through shops like a plague of locusts. Retailers complain there's also an increase in organised crime, shoplifting to order. All these different types of thieves have one thing in common: they're costing retailers an awful lot of money. Last year, the cost of lost stock and extra security measures hit a record £1.8 billion, or $2.5 billion. That's according to the British Retail Consortium, an industry group with thousands of members. And the shops are passing some of those extra costs on to the consumer, adding about 6 pence or 7 US cents to every single transaction. And it's not just the money. Violence and abuse against shop workers also spiked last year, with about 1,300 incidents daily, a rise of 50% from the year before.
What are you gonna do? Nothing! Shut your mouth!
Retailers are trying to deter would-be thieves by spending more on CCTV, store detectives and security guards, and body cameras. They're even putting security tags on basic products like baby formula and are reducing the number of items on shelves. But retailers say they can't handle this epidemic on their own and are being let down by the government and police. Last year, retailers reported only 1 in 3 incidents of violence and abuse to police, mainly because barely 1 in 10 of the incidents they did report were actually prosecuted in court. Police no longer attend reports of routine shop theft and only send an officer if there's been a threat of violence. Even if they're apprehended, a shoplifter no longer has to attend court if the goods are worth less than £200 or $250. After all the negative headlines, police are finally making a bit more of an effort. As of October last year, they launched Project Pegasus, which is partly funded by the UK's top 10 retailers, and uses CCTV images and facial recognition software to identify shoplifters. They also launched the Police Action Plan, so they will attend an incident if a suspected thief is detained. But generally, retailers are encouraged to send in their CCTV footage to be checked against the police national database of 20 million images, using facial recognition technology. Which isn't much good when the perpetrator is still wearing a COVID mask long after the pandemic finished.
Assistance is coming. Please continue.
OK, well, we're about to hear from our panel, but first, let's quickly check in with the public on the streets of London.
Why do you think more people are shoplifting these days?
Desperate times, desperate measures, maybe.
If you can't afford to buy food and you're that desperate, then you're going to look to other means, and this is what people are doing. I'm sure that people don't come out with the intention, I'm going to shoplift, put food on the table, but these are the decisions that people are having to make.
I don't think shoplifting's good. I might report it to a shopkeeper. Shopkeepers don't want their business, suffering as a result of it.
I think for those people that live in poverty, it's just getting harder. So as sad as it is, you can't really judge them because they've got no choice but to resort to that.
People didn't just show up and become shoplifters one day, so probably it's like out of desperation, cost of living, crazy inflation stuff. People are more desperate now than before. I think that's obvious, right? Because not much else has changed. Yeah. Other than the prices.
The people shoplifting are not afraid. Some of them are even aggressive.
These days, knife crimes have increased. I'm not getting myself stabbed.
OK, let's bring in our panel now. And today we have the former Met Police Detective Peter Bleksley. We also have Stefanie Curran, the director of Punk Against Poverty. And finally, we have Benedict Selvaratnam, the shop owner we saw in that report. Welcome to all three of you. Benedict, if I could start with you. You actually robbed live on air. Does that mean this sort of thing is happening to you all the time?
Yeah, when we first came onto the site in Croydon, we had about 3 to 4 incidences a week 7-8 years ago. What we're finding now is anything between 7 to 8 incidents a day. We have people being abusive, violence. We encounter that daily. We're a small business, so we have to kind of confront shoplifting. We have to try and prevent losses. So it means that we just have to confront shoplifters and try and challenge them and retrieve stolen goods. That puts us in the firing line.
You want to be a shopkeeper. You want to sell things and make a profit. You don't want to have to police it and put your life on the line. Who do you blame for that?
It's it's hard to say. Ultimately goes back to the government and then the allocation of resources, whether it's for the police or whether it's for vulnerable people. But we're retailers. We want to provide a service to the community, but more and more often we find that we're providing security and having to police the area inside our stores and directly outside as well.
Well, that's exactly the word I was looking for. I mean, you are now acting as your own police. Why don't you just call the police?
I mean, I think that the Met's own figures, they find that 70% of call-outs they don't attend for these kind of incidences, either through lack of resources or they have other priorities. But it's affecting us, people on the ground. We are in a live situation when we're facing violence or aggression or trying to retrieve stolen goods. We're a small team. We can't lose someone on the phone for half an hour trying to direct a police response, to be fair. And I think most other retailers I speak to have come to the same conclusion and don't bother calling the police.
Peter, was it always this way?
No, it certainly wasn't. In fact, young police constables used to learn their trade by arresting shoplifters. That was how they would learn to deal with witnesses, victims, and of course people that they arrested, not to mention exhibits, for example. But all of that has sadly been lost, and British policing now is fundamentally failing the shopkeepers of the nation the length and breadth of the country. They do not attend, or very, very rarely, and only on those occasions when there's extreme violence. So consequently, thieves now rule the roost. The streets have been taken over by the thieves and they act with impunity, and quite simply, it is a national disgrace.
Okay, so what's stopping them coming out to the call-outs?
They will say that they have other priorities, and they will say that a lack of resources is part of the reason why. But at the end of the day, theft is theft, and with over 800 members of staff in the retail industry being assaulted every single day, despite the pledges that we hear from senior police that they will improve their performance and they will attend these crimes, they simply are not. And it is a dark, dark stain upon the reputation of British policing.
So where are they putting their resources where they shouldn't be? They're prioritising the wrong things, and according to you and according to Benedict, what are they spending their time on?
Their response officers are very busy going from one 999 call to another 999 call. Often this is more social work than police work. But that's how the British police have manoeuvred themselves in the last couple of decades or so. They are there for societal breakdown. They are not there as a robust and firm crime-fighting organisation.
Stefanie Curran, you've heard from Benedict there. It's pretty awful to be him right now. You're just trying to make a living, and you have all these incidents of shoplifting. It's unforgivable, really, isn't it?
It is unforgivable. You know, we have a shop ourselves for our charity to raise funds, and we are getting hit tremendously hard by shoplifters ourselves, which a lot of people are surprised by, that we're here to help people in poverty and they're taking from us. But we've seen a massive rise. So we know how much of a struggle it is for small businesses to survive this. However, whilst I agree with some of what's been said that, you know, policing of it is not effective enough, there's a massive problem there. I think we also need to be going up higher and looking at the governmental issues. It's the cost of living crisis has created a whole new wave of new shoplifters who've never done it before. People that go and shoplift food just to survive. And if we can't stop these issues that are causing that, we have a massive problem. We also have a problem that we've got a prison service which is privatised. It's not built anymore. There's no profit in reform. So it's just a revolving door that's taking people in, then putting them straight back out. Nobody is being taught not to shoplift anymore. But as I say, I think the biggest thing we have now is a whole new wave of shoplifters who are doing it just to survive. And if we cannot find a way to support them better so they don't have to go out and take bread and baby milk and other essentials, then this problem just continue to get worse.
Benedict, do you accept what Stefanie's saying, that some people come and steal from your shop because they need to?
I mean, we have seen a rise in people stealing the cost of living crisis. Yeah, I would agree. I have seen that myself. Regular customers have been coming in for years, putting in a tin of fish or ham inside their bags. And they're generally the most amicable kind of shoplifter, because when confronted, they'll hand the stolen goods back. But also we have a significant portion are repeat offenders with substance issues, whether it's drugs. They're being used by criminal gangs themselves to steal the goods and give it to them, or they steal to fund their own habit. We've seen a dramatic rise in that. And there's a lot of organisation within the criminal gangs. You know how they come in. One will distract the cashier, while another will help themselves, clean the shelves, whether it's alcohol or meats and such. And when they steal those kind of products, they're not necessities. They are generally stored for resale.
Peter, do you accept Stefanie's point that sometimes people are going in there and they're having to steal items?
There is no excuse for theft. But it's not just people who are impoverished who are shoplifting. There are organised criminal gangs who are stealing high value items, handbags, for example, that are worth thousands upon thousands of pounds, watches and the like. So much of this crime is organised criminal gangs stealing to order and making fortunes from it.
Stefanie, I think some people would have quite a lot of sympathy with Peter's point. There is no excuse for stealing. And in fact, all you're doing is you're making things more expensive for all the other consumers. According to some experts, all the theft that goes on in this country adds around 6 pence per transaction, or around 7, 8 cents, US cents, if you like. And so really all they're doing is just stealing from other people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there is no excuse for shoplifting. I totally agree with that. But as I say, I do think we need to look at what's pushing some people to do it. There are some people that do it as a profession. Absolutely. I don't disagree. And again, we've seen it in our own shop. People that are stealing clothes from us, they're not stealing basic items. They're making sure it's the designer stuff that they're taking. So,
right.
They're not doing it out of desperation.
The law says at the moment that under £200 worth, and they don't have to even go to court. Do you think that should be changed? It should get toughened up?
As I say, I think it's very tricky at the moment with the cost of living crisis that those that are stealing low value items, I think we need to be looking at why. And perhaps if it's a repeat offender, yes, maybe we need to toughen up on that. But
we're talking about £200. So if someone steals a jumper for £199, they don't even have to go to court anymore, surely. That has to be toughened up.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is, if we were to lose a jumper for £199 from our shop, that would absolutely be devastating for us, as I'm sure it would most businesses. It really would scream off any money we could make that week. So, yeah, absolutely. I think the punishments should be stricter, but we do also need to look at the reasons behind why people are shoplifting.
We have to start coming towards the solutions end of the programme now. Benedict, what would be your proposal if you could sit down with the government, just tell them what you need? What is it?
They would probably be more identifying these repeat offenders so that they can work on kind of identifying who they are, getting them. I mean, it doesn't seem there to be any point in when everyone knows who these people are to arrest them or take them off the streets for 24 hours or however long, and then you see them back on the road again. You see them back, and so we keep seeing them. They may get locked up for a few weeks or a few months, but they come back, and I think that's up and down the country, and so therefore, what do you do in that situation when you know it's a certain proportion of people who keep repeat offending? How do you tackle that?
Well, let's ask Peter. Peter, there are a couple of initiatives coming from the police as of October last year, including Project Pegasus. Do you think that's going to be enough?
No, the police are not delivering on these as they should do. What we need to do is certain stores have non-intervention policies. They are ridiculous. They need to abandon those and train their security staff in restraint and disarming techniques. Then, of course, we need a deterrent, and that must be the police turning up and arresting people. And another deterrent, when they go to court, they should be suitably punished. And if we haven't got enough prison spaces, which we haven't, build more prisons.
Fair enough, Stefanie. Build more prisons?
Prisons that focus on reform, perhaps, yes. As I say, I think the privatisation of prisons has created its own problem where, reform, there's no profit in it now. But absolutely, I think we do need harsher punishments, but also more reform too.
Peter, punishment or reform?
Well, punishment without rehabilitation is a complete waste of time. So there needs to be an element of both. But primarily, punishment is a deterrent.
Peter Bleksley, Stefanie Curran and Benedict Selvaratnam, thank you all very much for your contributions. Really appreciate it. Now, a similar picture over in America, with shoplifting reports in 24 major cities, up 16% in the first half of 2023 compared to pre-pandemic levels, and that's according to analysis by the Council on Criminal Justice. The share of shoplifting incidents categorised as felonies also increased from 6.6% in January of 2019 to 15.1% in January of 2023. In 2022, retailers lost nearly $80 billion to shoplifters. The former president of the United States, Donald Trump, thinks he has a great solution.
We will immediately stop all of the pillaging and theft. Very simply, if you rob a store, you can fully expect to be shot as you are leaving that store. Shot.
Okay, let's bring in Jim Vajlika now. He's from the United States, and he was a police patrol sergeant and spent almost 2 decades with the regional SWAT team. Jim, we've just been talking about all the shoplifting going on in the United Kingdom, and from what we can tell, it's a similar picture over there in the United States. Why is shoplifting increasing so much?
Matthew, the one and only reason why shoplifting and all crimes are increasing is lack of consequence. Okay, when you can commit crimes and there's no severe penalties, there's no consequences to it, then criminals, which make up just a small percentage of the population, they always have, but when they can get away with it, they're going to continue that same behavior. That's the only reason. It's not the economy. It's not climate change. It's not any other reason besides lack of consequences.
So when did law enforcement give up on these sort of offences then?
Law enforcement never gave up. We lost our backing. We lost the attorney generals and the courts, the judges, the politicians. They all sold us out. And you know, we would continue to enforce these crimes if they would back us, if there were some consequences to it.
Right. We have a similar picture in the United Kingdom where they changed the law about a decade ago so that if someone steals items, you know, that are valued less than, say, $250, they don't even have to go to court. Is that something similar like that in the United States?
So shoplifting has always been a minor crime. For the most part, most shoplifters get away with it. And most shoplifters are just handled by the store, and law enforcement is never involved. So if we're involved, it's something greater than your average shoplifter. You know, right now you've got shoplifting professionals who work together in teams, and it's what they do. It's how they make a living. They're stealing high value items, and they're most likely selling them for drug money. So as far as lack of prosecution is just empowering these people to continue their behavior.
So Jim, shoplifting would be considered generally a misdemeanor, and then if there's any violence or other aggravating conditions, it becomes a felony. According to the statistics, the shoplifting is becoming more violent.
Yeah, shoplifting is classified as a misdemeanor unless the value of the item is over $100, and then you can charge someone with larceny, but it hardly ever happens. And what's happening now is these shoplifters, when security or anyone tries to stop them, they tend to get violent because, again, they're empowered by lack of consequence to their behavior.
The former president, Donald Trump, said at a rally recently that he would stop the pillaging and theft and allow shopkeepers to shoot people as they were leaving the store with stolen goods. Why is that not possible?
Matthew, that's not going to happen. You know, the closest thing you've got to justify that would be a fleeing felon. being as shoplifting is not a felony, and there's criteria to using deadly force on a fleeing felon. So first of all, you need to have a felony, and it needs to be a violent felony, and you need to show that letting this felon escape is going to immediately result in death or great bodily harm if they're not stopped. So you're not going to have a shopkeeper or a clerk or anyone else shoot a shoplifter when they're leaving the building. It's just not going to happen.
And what would happen to them if they did?
They're probably going to get charged with at least manslaughter.
Jim Vajlika, thank you so much for your contribution today. Really appreciate it. Thank you at home and on your phones for watching. If you want to see this episode or any of our previous episodes, do go to our channel on YouTube. Just type in Nexus TRT World. Till next week then, goodbye.